Welcome to Why I Left, a podcast exploring life-changing career moves. I'm your host, Brian Akar. Join me as I chronicle real stories from real people about the bold decisions that transform their careers and lives. Let's dive in. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of Why I Left. Today, we're diving into an inspiring journey of reinvention, resilience, and purpose. Craig Whiteley, aka Craig the Barber, made the remarkable leap from the world of finance to the art of barbering. And from there, built a game-changing men's grooming brand, Burke Avenue by Craig the Barber. If you've ever wondered what it takes to follow your passion and really stand out in a crowded industry and then create something with a lasting impact, this episode is right for you. Get ready to hear the story behind the brand and the man who brought it to life. Let's go check it out. All right, welcome back. So our guest today is Craig the Barber, a visionary entrepreneur and the founder of Burke Avenue by Craig the Barber, a premium men's grooming line. Now, Craig's career began in the structured world of banking, but a love for the craft of barbering led him to pursue an entirely different path. Over the years, he's built a reputation not only as a master barber, but also as a trusted grooming expert for leading brands and celebrities alike. Through Burke Avenue, Craig combines his artistry and entrepreneurial spirit to deliver high-quality products that empower men to look and feel their best. I should know because his shaving cream is the best there is, and his products keep my face, this right here, looking camera ready. And so I'm honored to have him here today to share his journey, his challenges, and his advice. So Craig, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, man. I'm feeling good.
So before we kind of get into it, can you maybe just share with our audience a bit, about your early life and what initially drew you to a career in finance?
My family and I lived in New York City for about 10 years. That's actually where the name of my product line came from, Burke Avenue. I lived right on that street. And after moving from there to Florida, I started 8th grade there. And there was a class that I had we had a substitute teacher in our math class one day. And he had some math problems that he was going to show us. And then when he was complete with it, he decided to sit down for a little bit, have us do some assignments. And as we completed the assignments, he would check. And while he was checking, he pulled open this newspaper and he started reading the newspaper. So one of the kids asked, "Hey, what are you reading?" And he paused and he looked and he's just like, "I'm reading the stocks." And the kids were like, what exactly is that? And he looked and his eyes lit up and the whole class turned into stocks and bonds and investment concept. And the basics of that information is what he poured into us that day.
Oh, wow.
After that, I said, that is amazing. I don't know what that is and how I can implement that into my life, but that was the seed that was dropped into my life. How do I use what he taught me and learn more about that for my future?
I love that. And now, were there any pivotal moments or influences in your upbringing that later informed your transition to barbering and entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. So I started cutting hair when I was about 13, 14 years old. That pivotal moment was the day my dad decided to give me my own pair of clippers. The reason why he did that is because I was a freshman in high school and I was really trying to impress the ladies. And the one thing that I felt was a way to do it was to always look sharp. And so I wanted to get a haircut every week. And my dad said, "I'm not paying for a haircut for you every week." So he said, "I can do you one better. I'll give you a pair of clippers and you can figure out how to cut your hair yourself." And I took that as a challenge. I made some mistakes along the way, but I started really getting good at cutting my own hair.
Okay.
And my friends started asking me to cut their hair. And for a period of time, my mom left her job and started a hairstylist salon like in our garage. And I was able to use her space whenever she wasn't needing it. And after a while, she went back to work and she said, "We're not going to change this back into a garage. You can keep it for your friends." And that was the hangout spot. That was like the barber shop that we had at my parents' house. And that's when I started to love barbering, man. Just seeing the transition of these buddies coming over, my football playing buddies, just my best friends. And we played video games and talk and like a traditional barbershop. And I was the proprietor.
Because, a good haircut, as many men and truthfully women can attest to, it just brings out something in you, right? Like it gives you that sense of confidence. It's more than a cut.
100%. 100%. You know what you look like when you have a haircut. When you get a fresh haircut, you know what you look like when you need a haircut. And even though you know what you look like, it's such a quick shift in how you appear when you look at yourself. And that's an instant confidence boost. And I feel like to be able to spin the guy around, have them look in the mirror and see their eyes just light up and they're feeling themselves. You're like, and I'm like, I did that.
I did that.
It's a great feeling, man. It's a great feeling. I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now transitioning from banking to barbering, we talk on this show, we talk about these pivots, right? And that is a significant pivot. So why did you leave the banking industry? And what was that aha moment that made you realize that barbering was going to be the official path for you?
It's one of the stories I love to share whenever I teach students in barber schools and beauty schools and whoever is willing to listen. When I was in the banking business, it wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. I had a lot of stress. It's a sales business. So last month's goals is not this month's goals. It's how to supersede the last one, right? And so it was always constant stress and I always get this knot in my back. And I just really didn't enjoy it after a while. But what I did enjoy was the frequent cutting of friends' hairs after work. And there was a very specific period of time, one moment where it was getting close towards the middle of the month. I closed a really big deal at the bank. It was awesome. I was proud of myself. The branch manager was proud of us as a team, high five and everything. And I felt like, man, this is one of those moments in banking where I'm like, maybe I can do this. I made my goals that month just with that deal. And so anything else was great. Went home that evening and I'm just driving home, just high on a kite, man. I got home, got some dinner, and a buddy of mine from up the street called me and he said, "Hey, Craig, my brother's in town." And his brother just came from the military. And he's just been hanging out or whatever. He just flew back in. He said, "My brother's in town and he wants to know if you can give him a haircut." And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." So drove up to his house, spoke to him a little bit. Of course, back then we're playing a little Madden. And then after it's over, I said, "Well, let's get started, man." And I said, this guy had a fro. I mean, he just let it grow. He was just really enjoying his retirement, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Hey, what would you like?" And he said, "I'm in your hands, man." He said, "You got a lot to work with. Just whatever you feel is going to make it look right for me." And so I spun him around, looked in the mirror for a little bit, kind of looked at him. I said, "Okay, I know what I'm going to do." Gave him a haircut, spun him back around. He looked in the mirror and he told me, he said, "Listen, this is the best haircut I ever had." And I looked at him so skeptical. And I was like, "Listen, there's no way at your age that this is the best haircut you've ever had." And he looked at me, he said, "No, I'm telling you straight up, honest truth. Of all the haircuts I've ever had, this is the best haircut I ever had." He's like, "This looks amazing." And I'm like, all right. So I'm happy. We talked a little bit more and I head home, got to go to work the next morning. I'm driving home, pull into my driveway and I'm just sitting there. And I'm just like, now high off of the success at work and high off the success of the haircut. And I literally started looking at it. And the haircut was way better. That experience, that feeling was way better than I could ever imagine closing that deal. And I said, "Nope, I'm in the wrong field, man. I got to go to where I need to really change lives." And that was a pivot. That was the moment where I knew, nope, got to do something else.
Wow, that's amazing. Because what's interesting, that it's almost like it was two highs that you chose from, right? It wasn't like something bad happened and it's like, you know what, I'm out of here. No, like you were literally on the proverbial top right now for that month. And then you had these experiences. That is really cool. Of all the years I've known, I've never known that story, right?
On this day, it still fills me.
Yeah.
It fills me.
Yeah. So now you've grown from launching the original, like the men's room, to now founding Burke Avenue. And my little funny story here for the audience is that I was like Craig's pen pal for many years when he was operating the men's room, always pinging him. I don't know if it was like a Yahoo type of thing. I don't know what that site was on, right? But we used to chat often. So you launched the men's room. Now you found Burke Avenue. What were the most critical lessons from those early barbering days that you carried into building your brand now?
I think it was awesome for me to be able to realize that as a barber and as a writer of the mensgroom.com, which really was an essential, it was a website, a destination for offering advice from a barber's perspective. And so I really leaned into a lot of the questions to really inspire what I was going to write and inspire what I needed to research. And what was amazing during that period of time is I learned a lot about what the consumer and the male consumer wants and needs and felt like they weren't really being heard. And I took that approach when it came to creating my products from the perspective of making sure I'm always listening to the consumer. I've done consulting with men's grooming companies, big ones. A lot of their decision making is tied to statistics. This sells because of this region because of that. And I said, you know what, the statistics I have are in the trenches of cutting hair and speaking to the consumer, and nothing that they have told me you guys are listening to. And so I decided that I was going to use the knowledge that I gained from all of those frustrations to create something that went above and beyond what any of the products on the market create. And so I take that still. That's why I'm so honest when someone writes me an email, telling them what they like. Hey, I just bought this or blah, blah, blah. I said, please, please, please share your honest opinion of my products, because I'm still small enough and nimble enough to make a tweak if there's a consistency there. And I want to always have my ear to the consumer, because I think that's the way to make a really solid foundational brand and a happy consumer and a loyal consumer. Yeah.
And looking back now, like on this journey, I know it's still happening, but how has your work evolved in ways in which you didn't expect when you first stepped away from finance?
Wow. Let me tell you something. Entrepreneurship is tough. And I think anybody that's listening here that is an entrepreneur understands that as a barber, if you're not cutting hair, you're not making any money, and in the same breath with my products, things of that nature, if you're not selling, then it's not a business. And so those things are the challenges associated with that. You have to continue to try to evolve and change and things of that nature. But the one thing that I can appreciate about it all is that I have the choice to put in how much work I'm going to put into that day, because there are other things that I value. I've come to a place in my life where I feel like I love what I do, but I love my family and my time more. And as an entrepreneur, you always have 900 tasks to do in a day. But I make the choice to say I'm ending it at this time because there's other things to do. And that has given me more power in my life than if I ever did corporate. We all know what corporate is like. You get emails when you're at home. You get emails before you wake up. You get responsibilities and things that you feel that you have to do to satisfy another person's requirements of their job. And so for me, I don't have that. I put as much pressure as I want. I love that song by Sammy Davis Jr., I Did It My Way. Mm-hmm. I can say that because this is my business and I can do it my way. I don't have to do it any other way. Someone else made their own products and their own business, because that's them. I have the choice to do it the way that's going to fulfill me. And it might take me 10 years longer, but I can look at it from the perspective of I have time that I've spent that are far more valuable than the success of Burke Avenue at the end of the day. And so I have that choice. And that's what I've taken from a comparison of corporate versus what I'm doing now as an independent entrepreneur.
And I love that you said that, because there's a theme that seems very consistent around intentionality for what you're doing in your time. Oftentimes, I hear of entrepreneurs like that they go from corporate, burning the candle on both ends, then they go to entrepreneurship and they're still doing the same thing.
Yes.
And it becomes too much.
Too much, yeah.
But it sounds like you really were like, you know what? I know what it was like on the other side. Here's what I'm going to do. 5 o'clock shutting down, right? And so I love that you mentioned that, because people can really pick up and learn from that, because entrepreneurship is, when you own your own thing, you run your own thing, you got to do what you got to do, but you do have to be really intentional about your time for that. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
I think just to add to that point, I can honestly say that leaving banking and going right into this, I did have a period of time where I was burning the candle at both ends. And I learned very quickly how unrealistic that was. I used to have my old business card of my bank taped to the bottom of my monitor. So whenever I got frustrated as this pursuit was going, writing my articles and things of that nature, it was always a reminder, like, I'm not going back to that. And so it was a matter of how do I tweak that so I can enjoy it and not really put that pressure. It took some time, especially when my son came around. When he came around, that's when it was like, nope, I got to do this different. And I appreciate that call to action. Because yeah, we as entrepreneurs, we can do it 24/7 if we really want to.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So let's now talk a little bit about Burke Avenue, right? We've kind of been teeing it up a little bit. So what is the overarching mission of Burke Avenue, and how do you ensure your products really reflect that mission?
Yeah. So the overarching goal for Burke Avenue is to really set the gold standard of men's skincare products. There are a lot of products on the market currently that do what they do and say what they do. However, they miss the mark a lot of times. The goal for Burke Avenue is to be able to help the consumer to really realize that the products that I'm creating address all of your skincare challenges. For most men, skincare starts with the shaving space, right? And so my products address from the beginning to the end what the razor is doing to the skin and how do we make sure that the skin is protected throughout the entire process. And then how do we prepare the skin for future shaves? So it's almost like I created the shaving cream, and then after the shaving cream is completed, you finish shaving your face, you hand the baton on to the 3-in-1 daily moisturizer. And all the products are focused on skin health, skin healing, and also helping with the skin darkening that a lot of folks have when it comes to razors really aggressively interfering with their skin and making their skin darker in certain shaved areas. So I cover the gamut when it comes to the importance of how the skin should respond. No fragrances, very light fragrance. And if it is a light fragrance, it's only because of the essential oil, nothing added. So nothing is going to dry the skin. And what's important about Burke Avenue is the core foundation started with when I was a barber. Gentlemen would come in to get a shave from me, and I would analyze their skin, and I would have over 12 shaving creams that I could potentially use on their face. And it came to the point where I would look at their skin, interview them, and then create a formula of those shaving creams to give them the best experience. If I could do this, there has to be a shaving cream that I can create that you only need one to do that. That satisfies not only the consumer, but also the barber when they're shaving in real time. And that's what I did with my product. It took me 3.5 years to do it. And it has, in my opinion, changed many, many lives of people that shave. Even women love the product. And so the core belief and the core focus of Burke Avenue is to be the gold standard and to really show the consumer and other retailers, to show them that if we listen to customer and go above and beyond the smells and the tingles that are being created for the man and really give them what they're asking for and show them that we care about their skin, then we could produce products that are also skin supportive to make them look and feel good for their entire lifetime.
I love that. Huge fan. And I think you do a great job of having the products speak to each other because it's a nice flow and it's a good experience. Speaking as a consumer, it's a good experience going through that morning. And look, I don't shave often. I wish I could grow a beard, but I can't. I just got this thing. But when I do shave, right, it's a nice, seamless process and no irritation afterwards. And it does smell great. Now, thinking about this, this industry that you're in, beauty and grooming, super competitive. As you mentioned, you're a smaller brand. You're competing in a very highly competitive, and I would imagine often cutthroat type of space, right? So what has been your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur in this space, and how have you worked to have Burke Avenue by Craig the Barber really stand out?
It's a good question. I come from the position of making my products from an expert position, right? So it's taken me quite some time to really get to translate that expert knowledge into allowing the consumer to really understand and differentiate what makes my shaving cream and my products different from the others. So it's the constant approach of giving a differentiation and issuing the problem and the solution in a simplistic form so they get it and they understand it, And what has really helped, and I knew it existed, but I didn't know how much it would help. What really has helped me get to the consumer equally as competitive as other brands is the level of content and SEO that I've created before I even created the brand. I still get referrals from themensroom.com, and I haven't written an article on there since 2017. Wow. Right? And so a lot of the content has just stayed on the web, stayed on the internet for me. And then that's where the most of my traffic is always organic, direct traffic coming from all of these articles that I've provided from magazines and themensroom.com and my own blog and things of that nature. And so that has really helped differentiate who I am as a person. They see more of a relatability to who I am to the brand. They see a face, right? They see a face. They don't see a corporate person. They don't see a made up name, for example. They see a real person and they see content that I've offered up for free, essentially. And then it validates the purchase of my product much more. And that has helped me tremendously sift through the level of marketing dollars I would need to really reach a lot of people.
No, that's awesome. And so for those who may be unfamiliar with Burke Avenue, what's one product or philosophy you're most proud of and why?
I'm most proud of my shaving cream was something that I envisioned for a long time. Matter of fact, it was a time I was trying to create one before and it fell through and it didn't work out. I was with a business partner, it just didn't work out. And so I put it back on the shelf and I decided to pick it back up on the shelf. And it took me 3.5 years, like I said before, to really create that product. And I was not willing to compromise on what I wanted out of the product. I had nothing to lose and everything to gain from how it performed. And I tell a story, and no one will admit this, at the manufacturer that created the product and the chemist that helped me put the product together. I feel like there was some concept of this, that last jar that they shipped to me, the current jar that people are using now. And I tested it for 2 weeks straight without any response. And what I was going to, they kept on asking me, what do you think? What do you think? And I was saying, wait a minute, I'll let you know. And I got on a call with that chemist and they asked me what I thought. And I told them, this is amazing. I feel like they threw a party that day in there because I was so tough on getting it right. And I take great pride in that because I launched that product with a belief that it was going to be an amazing product that people will enjoy. And not only that, it took a lot of guts to really push through it, to really get it there. And on top of that, 4 months later, it won Best Shaving Cream by Men's Health Magazine. And I was told by one of the people at Men's Health Magazine at the time that it was going against another big brand at the time. And without a doubt, there just was no competition, I was told, between mine and that one. And they told me, they're like, man, you're a giant killer. And I was like, what? I got the award and I flew to New York City to enjoy this Men's Health Magazine award. And I'm walking around mingling with people and people are coming up to me. So who are you with? And I said, oh, I'm with Burke Avenue by Craig the Barber. And they're like, oh, what role do you play for Burke Avenue? I said, I'm Craig the Barber. And they're like, oh, wait, you're Craig the Barber? I was like, yeah, because everyone else there was like, oh, I'm from marketing. Oh, I'm the head of this. And all from responsibilities that have nothing to do with the actual creation, the ideation, everything to do with the product. I was the guy.
I love that.
And that's what makes me so proud, that I was willing to take what I believe was something, work hard to create it, and then see the results of it, even to this day. And that's what I'm most proud of, that intentionality of creating something that I knew was a differentiator in the market and could be.
No, that's awesome. And what I'll share just to add to it, I think it is obviously a great product. And look, and I'll be real with folks, this is not an ad and not sponsor or anything like that. Like, I am a genuine customer since he launched this thing. What I love about it is that you only need a little bit. Like, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm a subscriber and I'll probably go through 2, maybe 3 jars a year because I don't need a lot. I got the little bristle thing and I do all that. And I get enough on the brush for 2 swipes, what we've been talking about, down, down, up, up, all those things. And then we're good. And so I love that you have put so much into this and that it's actually, you're getting the recognition that you deserve for it because it really, truly is a great product. So kudos to you, my man. Kudos to you. So now I would love to kind of pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about advice for others, because I think, like I mentioned earlier, this shift from banking, finance to barbering is very dramatic, right? It's a huge type of thing. And so what advice would you give to someone who's contemplating a dramatic career shift, but feeling a little held back by fear or even uncertainty?
I can tell you this, man. It took me some time to really grasp this concept. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect at understanding this. And I'm a work in progress when it comes to this. But the one thing I know that we can all guarantee is that nothing is certain. Nothing is certain in life. And all we have is today. Everything that we're concerned about or worried about or trying to plan on is worrying about a future thing, right? And so the folks that are uncertain, the folks that are fearful of doing this, at the end of the day, either you do it or you don't. We're on a journey where we're hearing people getting laid off when they thought that their job was guaranteed for another year or guaranteed for whatever it may be. You can have a contracted job and it's for 12 months and they cut you in 3. There's nothing guaranteed. And so I feel like the fear that we attach to taking that step is a lie. If we can look at the reasons why we're wanting to do this thing, the true core reasons why you're wanting to do this thing, it should have enough power in that to convince you enough to take that first step. You have a lot of folks that say, oh, I want to do this because of money, or, oh, that's going to make me a lot of money, or I want to do this, I want to do that. If there's a value there or fulfillment there's something that you do it and it fills you, that has far more value than you saying, oh, I just want to chase that money, because you might be working in a place that pays you just well enough anyway. So when you're switching it to something that is like a passion and a drive, and you can transition to it even slowly if you need to, do it, because you don't have time. You don't have time. So don't wait. Don't wait, man. So that's what I like to say about that.
I love that. And from your journey, what's maybe the most important thing people should know about reinventing themselves and thriving in a completely new field?
Yeah. I think what's great about reinventing yourself is that you get a chance to really see who you are. You really see what you're gravitating to and what is challenging you or drawing you to that shift in reinvention. But what I can say is that having lived in Los Angeles for over 16 years, very easy in the process of reinvention to lose yourself. You got to have your why. You got to have a full understanding as to why you're doing whatever you're doing in the first place, because it's much more difficult to pivot back to what you wanted once you've lost yourself. So if you're truly honest with yourself, reinvention is just fine, because reinvention to me is growth, right? And so at the end of the day, if you're able to know why you're doing this, and whatever that why is, that is what's going to keep you balanced in the process of that reinvention or that shift or that change. Don't lose yourself in it, because it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty.
Oh, I hear that. And as you look to the future, what type of impact are you hoping to have in these next steps of your journey?
Yeah. I feel like my ambitions have changed a little bit. Initially, it was like, man, I want to be the best barber in the world. I want to be the best shaving products in the world. I want this and this and that. And I still want that. I still have a desire, but it's different because I have met so many people when I go and I do speeches at schools and people get an opportunity like this to talk. What it comes back to me all the time is how much my ambitions and my focus on what I am trying to do has inspired so many and has really given people fuel to pursue and to be and to activate whatever they've always felt they wanted to activate. And so for me, what I ultimately want to do is I want to be able to look back at it as someone that chose a path and in the process realized that I was living more for other people initially in the space of going off to college. This formula is like, we go to school, you graduate, you get a job, you buy a house, all these steps. And at the end of the day, when you start doing that, is that something that you're visioning, or is that something that was kind of programmed in you? And I feel like that, to me, kills the imagination and the possibility that you have to be more of who you are. And I want to be known as someone that did it my way. I want to be known as someone that, and to be able to inspire others, friends, family, and whoever else is out there to see, like, you know what, that one guy, Craig, I know I could do this because he showed me that he could do it. Because I'm no different from anyone else at all. I just took the chance,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure they can feel that with you. As I'm listening to you, I'm like, the episode name is going to be "I Did It My Way." So I am. As you're talking, I was like, "Yep, we got it." You just saved me a whole ton of work, right? So I love that. I love that. Now I want to flip the mic a little bit and ask you, what's one question you have for me that I could hopefully answer?
Yeah, that's a good question. I saw how you started, why you started it. I know you're saying this is your fourth season that you're finishing up. And so what inspires me more than anything else is this opportunity to share my story. And so the question I'm asking you is, what is your future ambitions for this? Where do you see this going?
Ooh, that's a good one.
The spot too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I love about this part. So, where this is going, at times, I don't really know because I am having fun doing this on the side. Like, when I get into something, like this has become a passion project that now I'm 4 seasons in. And I don't know where it's going just yet. When I started out, I told myself that Great Resignation was a certain amount of time. It's not always going to be about that. I do want to expand it. This season is really about that expansion. Seasons 5 and potentially 6 will be about kind of where are they now? And so I'm taking my roadmap that I said I was going to do a couple of years ago. And so I don't know where it's going. But what I do know is that it is a lot of fun. And having a podcast is probably one of the best conversation starters, or, what's one fun fact about you when people are asking that you do, that just gets people very interested and intrigued by what's happening. So where it's going, I want to keep doing the show, right? And it has been a lot of fun, but who knows? I really don't know yet. I think at some point I will, and I do want to turn a lot of these learnings into a book of sorts, right? So that people can really understand that they are not alone in this process. The premise of the show is that we don't talk about resignations enough. And what I love about folks like you, your stories, people coming from all types of industries all over the world, to be honest, and you kind of see that in this season, that regardless of where you are, age, gender, religious affiliation, geography, whatever, there's so much that connects us. And people think they're navigating this work life. No one's ever experienced this. And I say, you're wrong, right? There are people who have gone through this and we just don't talk about it. Now, maybe we could get a little deeper into, well, why aren't we talking about these types of things? And, I have some thoughts there, but I eventually want to turn this into something where people could truly learn from it, right? Because as I'm in this whole content creator space, it is, people love the audio or the video. Some people don't care about either. They love the clip. They love the, what do you call it? The little clips, right? Yep. The reels.
Yep.
And then some people would love to maybe read about this. They just sit down and read something. That's a great question. And I always wonder if this could lead into something much more than I have even envisioned. And I'll be honest, who knows?
Yep.
Let's go let the Lord do what he does. Right. So,
right.
Great question. Great question.
If you don't mind, I'd like to chime and just share one response to what you shared.
Please.
Really quick, is that I love the answer more than anything else about the answer. I love the fact that you said you don't know, because that means you're open. And when you're open, you can go anywhere. When you have such a specific plan, I think you don't leave room for the beauty and the opportunities that are right in front of you. And to be open and have at least some concept of vision, which you have, just that is enough, because being open is where the beauty comes from, because you just never know where this can take you. And if you're open with it, then you won't miss it. You won't say no to it, or you won't ignore it because you're open. So stay open, man.
No,
I love it.
I love that. No, and I appreciate that. So it's like a good reminder too, because sometimes I actually have felt like oh damn, where am I going with this thing? And it's just like a little unsettling. But then it's like, you know what? No one's told me to start this show. I mean, no one's forcing me to keep doing it. I'm genuinely doing it for the love. And so I think that has allowed me, to your point, like, to be a bit more open to, hey, let's see where this thing goes.
I love it. I like it.
Well, Craig, my man, this was awesome. I got to give a couple shout outs here, because one, you connected me with a guy who really got me started on this podcast journey. You want to talk a little bit about your friend who connected us?
That's my boy right there, Stephen Hart, man. Stephen Hart. Yeah, I've known him since college, dude. We go back over 20 years. We go back, man. I met him in college, man, and he's still my buddy. I just spoke to him last week, and I'm happy to me, I think when he's one of the best podcasters out there. I know you're a close second, my friend.
I appreciate it. No, he's solid. I pick a lot up from him.
Man, he's a solid dude, and his vision for what he wants to do in his career has inspired me and continues to inspire me and many others. And I'm a big fan of Stephen A. Man, Stephen A. Hart.
Yes. So I wanted to just specifically shout him out because Stephen A. Hart has been almost like a mentor of mine in this podcast space. And we got connected when you and I first met back around 18, 19. So I just want to say thank you for that connection, because even though I didn't have the idea for the show at that time, once it hit me, then his lessons started coming back, and then him and I connected and we started building. And so that was, I just really appreciate that. Just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Obviously a pleasure having you, knowing you for these many years and bugging you on the men's room, you know.
Tony, I love it, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you letting me pepper you with all those questions back in the day.
This has been a great experience. It's always good to share my passion, share what I stand for, what I love to do. I love the opportunity to do that, man. I appreciate you extending it.
So where can our listeners find you and support some of the work that you're doing?
So, of course, my men's skincare brand, Burke Avenue, is at burkeavenue.com. You can get a lot of my content that I like to share with all the men and the ladies in people's lives that are trying to keep their neck up looking good. On YouTube, at Craig the Barber. You can also find me at Craig the Barber on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Hold on, I was with X, right? I'm not on X. But then you have TikTok and all those places, all social media platforms at Craig the Barber, and the same for Burke Avenue, at Burke Avenue.
Awesome. So thank you for that. And look, that'll do it for today's episode. Again, I want to thank Craig Whiteley, aka Craig the Barber, for joining me today. All of his info will be in the show notes. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll definitely see you next time. Craig, thank you.
Thank you, my man.
Thanks for listening to Why I Left. Join us next time for more inspiring stories about growth, resilience, and transformation. Visit us online at www.whyiLeft.co. That's whyiLeft.co. And subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the Alive Podcast Network. See you soon.